Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome back everybody to this wonderful session of the Gita course, where we thematically try to study the Bhagavad-Gita, try to derive spiritual solutions for the material problems which we face in life. Very, very happy to see that devotees are very much interested and they are joining. It appears that we are in the stage of boiling, in the phase of boiling the milk. So those devotees who are actually serious, they are the ones who are remaining. And those who are not very determined on the path of Krishna consciousness, we see that they get distracted by the various allurements, agitations, difficulties, and sensory experiences which the life throws at them. So I congratulate all those devotees who are continuing to be regular. I see more and more devotees are joining slowly. If you can hear me clearly and if you can see me properly, can you please raise your hands to confirm? Okay, thank you very much. So we will start some kirtan like we do in all these sessions, and post that we will continue with our discussion. So I'm going to share my screen now. So that's the screen and that's the agenda for today. But before that, we will do some kirtan. This is the Pranam Mantra of Srila Prabhupada. Today I'm also going to explain you the meaning of this. While I speak, a very, very ecstatic kirtan is going on in the temple hall. Some young devotees have come. They're trying to bring down the temple hall only. I'm missing that dancing kirtan. Now somehow it has stopped. Now that it has stopped, I will we'll start with our Sankirtan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari, Gopijan Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijan Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari, Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana-chari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare. Yoga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki jai. So before I go on to the Mangala Charan, I would like to explain the meaning of this mantra. This is called as the Pranam Mantra of the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. So this mantra means Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. One who has firmly grasped the lotus feet of Krishna or Vishnu, one who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, one who has become a dust particle at the lotus feet of Krishna is called as Vishnupad. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto that personality who is taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. And on this planet Earth, he is very dear to Krishna. Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale. His name is Srimate Bhaktivedanta. So A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is the name. The Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Now, what is the function of this Swami? Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. He is the disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So therefore he is called Saraswati. Just like the son of Vasudeva is called Vasudev. So the disciple is also called as the son. So the son of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is Saraswati. So Namaste Saraswati Deve. What is he doing? Gauravani Pracharine. He is engaged in spreading the name, form, qualities and pastimes and the teachings, basically the teachings of Gaura, that is Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, who advented as Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. So Namaste Gauravani, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. He is engaged. Bhaktivedanta Swami is engaged in spreading the teachings of Gauranga, Gauravani Pracharine. And then what is he doing? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Nirvishesha People who are voidists, who say that there is no God. Shunyavadi means nullist or a theist who says there is no God. Nirvishesh means God has no name and God has no form. God is Nirgun and Nirakar. These kind of misconceptions are there in the Nirvisheshvad. And Shunyavadi means that there is no God only. I am only God. You are God. Everybody is God. So Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, while he is spreading the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, he is delivering the nullists, the voidists, the atheists. And where is he doing that? Paschatya Desha. He is doing it in the Western countries. Why? Because his spiritual master ordered him to go to the West and preach. So, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Desha Tarini. Western countries, he's going and he's trying to deliver the residents there. This is the beautiful Pranam Mantra. Every Acharya has a Pranam Mantra. This is the Pranam Mantra of Srila Prabhupada. Simply by chanting this Pranam Mantra, one invokes the blessings of the Acharyas. And here is Srila Prabhupada. Just like in every session, we offer this session also for the pleasure of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. I pray from the core of my heart with a lot of gratitude, because everything which I know, which I understand, which I speak, which I teach is simply a mercy, simply the mercy of Prabhupada and the sincere followers of Prabhupada. So I offer this session for the exclusive pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And with that desire, and only that desire, I would like to begin today's discussion, seeking the blessings of the Guru Parampara by chanting the Pranam Mantras. Those who know this, they can repeat with me. Those who don't, they please try to hear it with maximum focus. Try to absorb the sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Utapadikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Some devotees are raising hands, requesting them to lower your hands. Only when we ask a question, at that time you can raise your hands. In case if you want to answer something or interact in some way. Is there anybody who is joining for the first time today? If yes, please raise your hands. That could be some information for me. Neetu Kanodia. Welcome, Neetu Kanodia. Welcome. Very happy to have you here. Anybody else who is joining for the first time? Good. So today, we are going to start our discussion on the mind control and the regulated lifestyle aspect. Did you know that mind control and regulated lifestyle as a subject matter has been discussed by Krishna? If you didn't, please take this information that Krishna does discuss the mind control and the regulated lifestyle aspect. Now the question comes, Bhagavad-Gita is a spiritual book. It talks about, Krishna makes it very clear that peace of mind is not spirituality. If I'm targeting for peace of mind, I'm not a spiritual person. Bhumi rapo analo vayu kham mano buddhire vacha ahankara itiyam me bhinna prakritirashtudha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are my 8 separated material energies. Krishna puts mind also in the material energy. So mind has got nothing to do with spirit soul to a huge degree. Especially, of course, someone may say if the mind is not properly placed, then it's difficult to practice spirituality. Agree to that statement. But considering the mind only as the spirit soul, that is wrong. So mind is not spirit soul. So if somebody is targeting just peace of mind, they are not a spiritual person. So Bhagavad-Gita is a spiritual book. It talks about soul. It talks about the transmigration of soul. It talks about karma. It talks about the duties. It talks about the relationship between God and the Jivatma, the position of the Jivatma, the position of God, how great is God, how one has to serve God. If one will not serve God, then they will end up serving Maya. So these kind of discussions are there. So why in such a spiritually loaded book has the concepts of mind control and regulated lifestyle come? Regulated lifestyle means proper eating, proper sleeping, proper recreation, proper work. Why this eating, sleeping, and all these kind of things have come in a spiritual book? Would someone like to answer this question? Why is Krishna, while discussing a cleanly, purely spiritual topic, why did he bring in the concepts of eating, sleeping, recreation, work, mind control, etc.? Why do you think he did that? Somebody would like to answer? Aarti Venkatesh, you can please unmute yourself and if possible turn on
Sir, so as the saying goes, a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. So Krishna wants us to be healthy so that we can concentrate on him better.
Do you mean to say that if by chance you do not have a healthy body, you cannot practice Krishna consciousness? Did you mean to say that healthy body is an absolute necessity in spiritual life? I don't think so. I don't think so. So why is Krishna talking about these things? Anybody else would like to say? Okay, someone is raising hand. Bal Mahima Balakrishnan. You can please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
To know ourselves, to differentiate from the animals, and we are human nature. I don't know how to explain it, but we are not like animals or any other species. We are the higher species to realize that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So I will lower your hand now. Thank you for the answers, Aarti and Bal Mahima Matajis. See, I was already giving a hint in the question itself that although mind is not the basis of spiritual life, but sometimes mind affects the spiritual life. When the mind is very disturbed, when the mind is very much attracted to sense objects, when the mind has become lusty, greedy, angry, in illusion, envious, full of attachments, then it becomes very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. And because improper eating, untimely eating, improper sleeping, untimely sleeping, improper recreation and untimely recreation, and improper work and untimely work, it affects the mind. And because this mind, the primary thing in spiritual life is to control the mind. Bandhur atmat manastasya yenat maivat manajitha. One who has controlled the mind is his best friend. One who has not controlled the mind, it's not that mind is saying, "Okay, you controlled me, I'm your friend, but you didn't control me, okay, I'll adjust with you." No. Anatmanastu shatrudve vartitatmaiva shatrutvat. If you cannot control the mind is like your worst enemy, and it will degrade you into the lowest form of existence. So mind needs to be controlled. And this eating, sleeping, recreation, and work, if not done in a proper way, they affect the mind. And therefore, some unnecessary difficulties come in the path of a sadhaka or a practitioner in spiritual life. So therefore, Krishna puts this concept of balanced and regulated lifestyle along with the aspect of mind control in the Bhagavad-Gita, so that one can feel some relief from material miseries and practice Krishna consciousness. I repeat, one will feel relief from some material miseries. I have never said that the material miseries will disappear, as some people falsely promise. That's not the case. So let's start in the light of this discussion. Let's start our today's discussion. So we are dealing with mind control and regulated lifestyle. So the agenda is we'll discuss what is the nature of the mind, how to regulate mind, and mind's idea of happiness. So today's session, if you can see, and again, we'll give a practical tip of the day which can make your life happy. So we will also, if you see, we are focusing on mind control in this session. The regulated lifestyle aspect, it needs a separate discussion. So we'll do it in the next session. Today, we are trying to understand what is the nature of the mind, why to regulate the mind, and how to regulate the mind, and what does the mind want? What does the stupid mind want? So even before I begin the discussion, I request the mature and the honest audience here, please give a signal by raising your hands. How many of you feel that mind control is a serious problem without any exception for everybody? How many of you feel like that? Mind control is a serious problem without any exception for everybody. How many of you feel like that? At least Arjuna felt like that. Arjuna, the best warrior, the best personality in those times, he felt that mind control is a serious problem to such a degree that Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, if you want me to control the flow of the raging wind, I can do that. But if you ask me to control my mind, I'm sorry, I can't do that." So if Arjuna in a different yuga, who has extraordinary capabilities, and we cannot even imagine how the people of previous ages were. Kali Yuga means maximum degradation, short lifespan, poor memory, spiritually dull, no intellect, slow, bad, both slow and bad. These are the characteristics of Kali Yuga. Quarrel, hypocrisy. These were not the problems of people in earlier previous ages. So if in Dwapar Yuga somebody is telling that mind control is a problem, then what to speak of Kali Yuga? Therefore, I see mind control is a problem without any exception for everybody in Kali Yuga. So therefore, this session is very, very important, requesting all to pay attention, take notes, and understand and make use of it in your lives. Okay, so now let's get into the nature of the mind. First of all, we have to understand whom we are dealing with. So, mind is the most powerful material element. Understand this point first. That mind is a material element, it is not the spiritual element. And point to be noted is that sometimes in some places you'll see I come from my mind, I think, therefore I am, and all those things, statements. But actuality, the reality is that you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intelligence, you are the spirit soul. So please don't think that the mind is you. You are not the mind. You are not the body. You are not the intelligence. You are the spirit soul. So therefore, I have put it in this presentation that the mind is the most powerful material element. And I'm not a material element. I'm a spiritual entity, a part and parcel of Krishna, always willing, part and parcel of Krishna. And my constitutional position is to be a loving servant of Krishna. And when I'm not in my constitutional position, then I have created a problem for myself only. Just like this finger. As long as it is there in this connected to the hand, and as long as it is cooperating with the hand, the finger is happy, the hand is happy. But if the finger decides that, no, I want to live a separate life, then what will happen? The finger will starve and die, and for the rest of the life, the hand will miss this finger. So the constitutional position of the finger is to cooperate in the wholesome enjoyment of the hand. If the hand is enjoying nicely, then the finger will automatically be happy. Similarly, it is with the part and parcels of God. We, the part and parcels of Krishna, the Jivatmas, our job is to cooperate in the transcendental enjoyment of Krishna. And when Krishna is happy, we will automatically be happy. But our disease is that we want to be separate from Krishna, we want to forget Krishna, and we want to be happy independently from Krishna, which is not possible. Therefore, we are there in this material world going through the cycle of birth, disease, old age, and death, which is not natural for the soul. And therefore, we are always hankering, always lamenting, always unhappy, and a constant struggle for material existence is there in this material world. So mind is the most powerful material element. Now, before I go on to the next discussion, I would like to ask the devotees. But before that, I would like to present some shlokas from Bhagavad-Gita, which talk about the mind. This is from the 6th chapter, shloka number 6. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends. And for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. This is something which we have to ponder upon. That what is the nature of the mind? It's the most powerful material element which needs to be subjugated. You cannot have a snake in your room without taking out the, what do you call, I'll just lower the hands first. I don't know why the hands are up. Okay. So you cannot have a snake in your room without removing the poison fangs of the snake. Anytime it can bite you and anytime it can be deadly. So when the poison fangs are removed, the snake is not your friend. The snake by nature is an envious entity. That's why snakes, whenever they are seen, they are killed. Because if a snake is here, even if you don't do anything, it will come and bite you. People who are very envious, they get a serpent body in their next life. People who are very much attached to their properties, and even at the time of death, they are thinking of their properties and they are envious how their relatives have cheated them. They also become snakes in their properties, and their own children and own kinsmen come and kill them. So the mind is like that. If the mind is controlled, then it will cooperate with you. Mind is the seat of all senses. The Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas, that is the sight, smell, touch, sense, taste, hearing, everything, hands, legs, and all those working senses and knowledge acquiring senses, they are the center of activity is the mind. So when the senses are not controlled, running here towards the sense objects, then the mind becomes agitated. When the mind becomes agitated, the intelligence does not function properly. And when the intelligence does not function properly, then the soul becomes bewildered. So therefore, the organizational hierarchy here is the soul or the intelligence should become very strong. For intelligence to become strong, you need spiritual potency. Spiritual capacity is needed to make the intelligence unwavering. So that spiritual potency comes by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The more you chant, the more is your realization of yourself at the spiritual platform. If you chant very sincerely, you will start understanding that I'm not this body, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm not an Indian, I'm not an Australian, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a businessman, I'm not a cat or a dog, I'm a spirit soul. This realization will come to you. And then, under the light of this realization, when you will read the Bhagavad-Gita and the Bhagavatam, then the intelligence becomes strong. When the intelligence is strong, it can control the mind. It can subjugate the mind. The mind works on likes and dislikes. That's why some platforms where you have these like buttons, they really capture the mind. Because mind has no logical reasoning capability. Mind wants what it wants. Mind wants what it wants. That's all. But the intelligence will rationalize that you shouldn't take that. You're a diabetic person. You can't eat this gulab jamun. But the mind will say, to hell with diabetes and to hell with other problems. I will just eat it. So this is the difference between mind and intelligence. Intelligence works on discrimination based on what it has learned. And mind works on past samskaras or the habits and the inclinations which it has formed in various lifetimes. Please understand, mind, intelligence, and false ego, they constitute the subtle body of a living entity. And the subtle body carries the soul from the womb of one mother of one species to the womb of another mother of either the same or some different species. So the mind, intelligence, and false ego, they will come with you lifetime after lifetime. So don't think that if you like something in this life, oh, it's very great. No, you have been doing and you've been liking it for many, many lifetimes. If somebody doesn't like Karela, they must have had some bad experience with Karela in some lifetime, and that tendency is still continuing. If somebody has some strange fear, something has happened. So, when the intelligence is strong, it can subjugate the mind. And when the mind is under the control of the intelligence, then automatically the senses are under control. So the Bhagavad-Gita says that if the mind is controlled, the mind becomes the best friend. It will assist you in your sadhana, in your pursuits, both spiritual as well as material. But if the mind is not controlled, then it is your worst enemy. It will bring you down. And don't think that, some enemy can beat you down and take you on the road, make you a beggar, and then it may think, okay, now he has become a beggar, now my revenge has taken, now let me go back. So the enemy may actually go back after some time, after taking away everything from you. But even if when you have lost everything, the mind is not going to stop. It will degrade you further and further and further. There's no limit to which the mind can degrade you. There's no limit to which your mind can kick you and put you in illusion. So therefore, Krishna says very clearly, Anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. If you have not controlled your mind, then 365 days, 24 hours a day, you are living with an enemy. And any time it can do anything to you. Worst case is that when the mind is not controlled, one becomes a puppet. One becomes a slave of their senses, and they don't even realize that. That's the worst part. So therefore, how many of you now agree? This is a poll. And the answer to this poll will depend on how many of you raise hands. How many of you think that mind control is an absolute necessity? Please raise your hands to confirm. Very good. Not all of you are still raising your hands. Less than 50% are raising hands. Have the others not understood the question? Mind control, is it an absolute necessity or not? Or is it okay if I don't control my mind? I can let my mind wander here and there and do whatever it wants. Okay. Thank you. Requesting everybody to please lower your hands. So the next statement which Krishna makes in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita is Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutah Sanatanaha Manah Shashthani Indriyani Prakritasthani Karshati. Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Mama, mine, eva, only amsho. So Krishna is saying all the living entities, whether it is a human being or a cat or a dog or an amoeba or a coronavirus, whatever it is, they're all my parts and parcels, eternal fragmental parts. Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhutah Sanatana. Now, many people say Krishna is a Hindu god or an Indian god. But Krishna never says like that. Krishna says Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Every living entity in this conditioned material world you find, they are eternal fragmental parts of Krishna. And then what is the problem? Manaha Shashthani Indriyani. They have 6 senses, including the mind, Manaha. And they are struggling very much. Prakritis Sthani Karshati. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So mind is basically struggling because of its conditioning. Mind is conditioned, most of the times framed to like something and dislike something. For example, the advertisements, they are like programming your mind, conditioning your mind. Every time they will tell you, is there salt in your toothpaste? Is there salt in your toothpaste? क्या आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है? क्या आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है? क्या आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है? No one cares if there is salt in my toothpaste or not. But then now you've heard it so much that you start thinking if there is no salt, that means it's not a toothpaste only. There is some undergarment ad which is coming. Andar fit to bahar bhi hit. And if you are wearing nice undergarments inside, then you will become very successful in life. These kind of ads will come. There is one ad which I really found it funny. I don't mean to, that was a beverage company. I'll not name the beverage company. So the beverage name is there. Jo chaho ho jaye. Name of the company, enjoy, like that. That means if you buy a beverage bottle of this particular company, Jo chaho ho jaye, name of the company, and enjoy. So that means they are basically telling that if you just take this bottle of this beverage and if you drink it, then whatever you want will happen to you. So mind is being framed like this. In some parts of the world where I've had some experience, there are various things which are happening which are not correct, but that has become the norm now. For example, first I'll start with India. So earlier India was an agrarian civilization. The Britishers, when they came and they saw this country, they found 2 unique things. The Vedic education culture was very strong. Everybody was deeply rooted in the Bhagavad-Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. And even 700 years ago, when Yun Sang, a Chinese traveler, when he had come to India, after landing in India, he stayed in one of the colleges for 6 years to learn the Sanskrit language. And then he changed his name also just to travel all over the country and learn and various things, because he also liked the Sanskrit as a language, and it gave him more exposure to the Sanskrit texts. And then they used to travel with so many texts back. Very recently, it has been proved that Isaac Newton, he received the formulae for the what do you call? I'm just forgetting it. Calculus and everything, and from the Indian subcontinent. And these texts were being carried by these travelers who would take it back and then explain it to them. First, they would come to the Indian schools, they would learn everything, and Indians would be very large-hearted. wanted to share the Vedic education with everybody, and then these Vedic texts would travel all over the world, and then some idiot would start claiming that, oh yeah, this is my discovery. And then the next good thing about the Indian subcontinent was that the agrarian culture was very strong. Nobody was starving. Maximum people were engaged in agriculture. Chanakya Pandit says that the wealth of a person can be measured by the number of cows he has and the stock of grains he has in his house. Now, all of us can check how many cows we have, not the toy cows, actual cows, and how much stock of grains we have in our house. If we don't, then we are actually not rich. So in that capacity, India was very rich. The father of Krishna, Nand Maharaj, he had 9 lakh cows. It's unimaginable. And only he had 9 lakh cows. And there were other cow herds also in that village. So they had their own lakhs of cows. So that was the Vedic civilization. So when these Britishers, they had come to colonize India, they thought that 2 things should happen. Number one, their faith in the Vedic education system should break. So they hired some scholars from various parts of the world. Most notable was Max Muller and others. Their job, they were paid people, their job was to pervertedly and incorrectly and disgustingly translate the Vedic literature so that when the Indians would read it in English, they will feel disgusted by their own culture. And then the Aryan invasion theory and all those wrong theories were cultivated, created, just to make Indians feel that, oh, we are so uncultured, we are so primeval, and we are so stupid, and we don't know anything. And everything which is Western, even if it means as a biscuit or a cloth or whatever, everything Western is far superior. So the first job which they did was they killed the Vedic civilization. And the second job which they did was they killed the agrarian culture in India. They forced people not to participate in agriculture. Therefore, they were not. Prabhupada often says if somebody has half an acre of land and 2 cows, then he is an independent man. He doesn't have to do anything with the world. He can just get some milk for himself and his family and cultivate some crops on the land and be happy, save time, chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavatam. So that was the culture. People would work hard 3-4 months a year, get the crops, stock it, sell it, and then the next 6-7 months they would go to pilgrim places, discuss, participate in so many activities, etc., etc. So mind is framed. So for example, when the culture was like that, agrarian culture, and especially in the northern part of India, the culture was that one works very hard in the field and one eats a lot. So if you go to the northern part of India and while you are eating, you may get some burps. So until you get 5-6 burps, they will feel that you have not eaten and they will feel bad. If you do not take at least 5-6 servings of each item, they will feel offended. They will say that sometimes devotees also say, Prabhuji, if you don't take more, I will take offense. So this is called conditioning of the mind. That's what I'm trying to explain. Similarly, in one another part of the world, especially in the European subcontinents, there is this beer and barbecue culture, B&B. So if you do not drink beer, you will be boycotted. Beer is the norm. And you cannot explain to anybody that beer drinking is sinful. If you do not have, in fact, I was, when I would go to some office gatherings also, openly beef, beer and barbecue would be kept. And no other arrangements was there. If somebody wants to drink water, they have to struggle. So that was the norm. And if you do not have beer, and if you do not engage in barbecue, you will be boycotted, nobody will talk to you. So basically, drinking is a custom in those societies, and one who doesn't drink is considered abnormal. So this is called as conditioning of the mind. So Krishna is saying, due to this conditioning, manaha shashthani indriyani, they are my eternal fragmental parts and parcels, Mamai Jiva Loke. They are struggling very hard due to this conditioning with what? With the six senses and the mind which is there. So because of the conditioning, everything is going wrong. Now, I'll show you another presentation, and I'll ask you a question which will help you to understand how this conditioning of the mind plays a havoc. Do you see this? What do you see this in this picture? What do you see in this picture? There is a person, a lady who's trying to do some shopping. She has a shopping trolley. But how many of you feel that she is feeling very relaxed inside? And how many of you feel that she is in complete total anxiety, clueless, probably being completely conditioned and programmed to buy something which she does not even want to buy? How many of you think that she is completely out of control while walking like this? Yes, few people are raising their hands, not all. So yes, that is actually a fact. I had studied a subject called as operations research in my graduation, and there I had this mall theory. A study on the mall was there. So in this operations research, what you do is that you find out what are the pairs. For example, bread goes with butter. So in a mall like this, or in a shopping complex like this, they keep the bread in one corner and they keep the butter in another corner. And in between, they'll keep so many other things. So when the person picks up the bread and then he sees, oh, the butter is in that corner, so he has to travel with the trolley all the way. And then while going, he'll see this, he'll see that, he'll see this, he'll see that, and automatically it will keep falling in his trolley. And he had gone to buy only bread and butter, but the logistics of the mall was arranged in such a seducing way that he ended up buying things which he didn't intend to buy. So this is called conditioning of the mind. Now there is something called as gross domestic product, GDP. What does GDP mean? In simple language, if you are using one object or something which you have not changed since the last 20 years, then basically you are not contributing to the GDP. GDP means more and more people dissatisfied, more and more products being purchased every year, then the GDP is increasing. This means that if you have a phone and if you survive with the same phone for 7 to 8 years, you are a very, very ineffective and a zero contributor to the GDP. Very low contribution. However, if you are a highly dissatisfied person and every 6 months you lose your mobile or you buy a new mobile, oh, then you are contributing too much to the GDP and country is very grateful to you. That is GDP. Now, if you see this whole conditioning which we are in, the mall culture or the advertisement industry, the shopping culture, and this GDP culture, this is completely 180-degree opposite to the Vedic culture. Vedic culture means simple living and high thinking. You learn to be satisfied with one thing for the rest of your life. That's all. Why do you want to buy again and again? So people were more satisfied and their happiness index was much higher earlier. Now the happiness index is reducing as this consumerist culture is increasing. That is a solid conditioning, and that is making people more and more unhappy, and people don't know what to do in life. Clueless. So now the question comes is, who is dictating the mind? Why is the mind very susceptible to these kind of conditioning? We are discussing the nature of the mind. Until we understand this, it is not possible to understand how to control the mind. So therefore, I'm spending more time here. What dictates the mind? Why does the mind become susceptible to so many conditionings? There's a very famous story that there was a Brahmin who was walking with a goat on his shoulders. But there was a group of thugs, a group of thieves, who wanted to take that goat away from him. So they stood at three different places. The first thief said, "My dear Brahmin, why are you carrying this dog on your shoulder?" So the Pandit or the Brahmin, he replied back that, "Are you crazy? I'm carrying a goat. Can't you see properly?" The person said, No, it is a dog. And then after some time, after 10 minutes, he found the other person. He said, "Panditji, why are you carrying this dog on your body?" Sorry. "Why are you carrying this dog on your body? And, you're not having bath also. Dog is considered to be a little bit dirty animal. And you're walking around all over the place. You'll enter someone's house and perform some ceremonies. All the respect which I had for you, seeing your unclean state, I've lost it today." So at that time, the Pandit became a little confused, and he actually took down the goat, and he started seeing the tail, the nose, the mouth, the legs, and then verified. And he said, "Why is everybody saying it's a dog? It's actually a goat." But this time he came in full doubt. And then after 10 minutes, he found another person who said that, "Panditji, why are you carrying a dog on your shoulder? If anybody sees you, they will not talk to you also for such dirty behavior." But this time the Pandit didn't even see. He just dropped the goat on the ground and then ran away and simply jumped into the Ganges and took bath and went away. So that is called conditioning of the mind. Now the question is, the mind is by nature susceptible. And how does it happen? Dhyayato vishayah pumsan sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kaman kamat krodho vijayate. When we meditate on a sense object, dhyayato vishayah pumsa sangat teshu pajayate, then we develop attachment on it. That's how the mind functions. We meditate on a sense object. By the power of meditation, the attachment is developed. Sangat sanjayate kamat krodho vijayate. And when attachment progresses further, it becomes lust. Krodhat bhavati kamat krodho vijayate. And when lust develops, then lust by default becomes anger. It turns into wrath. Because whether you satisfy the lust, it will never be satisfied. And even if you don't satisfy the lust, if you don't deal it with in the proper way, if you do not deal it with the Krishna conscious way, if you just try to suppress it, that will also lead to anger. So kamat krodho vijayate. Suppose you have an itch in your hand, you're itching. The itch didn't go away, then you itched again, then the itch still is there, and then you again itched it, and the skin came out, then the epidermis came out, and the hypodermis came out, and then the inner layers of the skin came out, and the blood came out, and then it's a wound now. But even when it has become a wound, you still feel like itching. So the itch can never be satisfied. Similarly, the lust can never be satisfied. So imagine the consciousness of a person who has tried to satisfy his lust over and over and over and over and over and over and over again through many, many lifetimes, but still the lust is not satisfied. He will feel very angry. So kamat krodho vijayate. And then krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. When anger comes, then comes complete bewilderment. With bewilderment leads to loss of memory. Smriti vibhramaha. Smriti bhramshad buddhi nasho. When memory is destroyed, that means when one forgets that I am an eternal part and parcel of Krishna and my job is to be an eternal loving servant of Krishna. I have to serve Krishna and not my senses. When this memory is destroyed, Smriti bhramshad buddhi nasho. When this memory is destroyed, then the power of discrimination is destroyed, intelligence is destroyed, and buddhi nashat pranashyati. When the intelligence is destroyed, then one becomes ready to do all kinds of sinful activities, be it murder or fraud or rape or terrorism, whatever. That's how the mind works. Simply by being exposed to something, I repeat, simply by being exposed to something, the mind becomes conditioned. So therefore, for a sadhaka, it is very, very important to what he or she is systematically exposing their mind to. See, anything which the mind gets exposed to, whether good or bad, the impressions will always remain. You can't say that, okay, I did something horrible, but I'll be able to get along with it, and the samskaras have not formed for me. The culture of polluted mind has not formed for me. No, you cannot avoid it. Where you have to be very careful what you're exposing your mind to. Mind is like a database which is storing so many things from millions of lifetimes, and everything will affect you at the time of death. Those who do regularly deity worship, Archa Vigraha Upasana, you will see that when you start worshipping the deities, all these horrible things will come up, start popping up. And then you will imagine, then you will understand that how much dirt is there in the mind. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says that the mind is like an ocean. When you stand on the deck of a ship, and then when you see the ocean, it appears very calm and composed. But you don't know how many sharks and octopus and squids and horrible creatures are there within. So one may feel that I am not a thief, and never I will get a desire to do some theft and dacoity. However, our statement is that if we systematically expose you to the environment of theft and dacoity, it's just a matter of time that you will become a thief. So that is how the conditioning of the mind works. So we have to be very careful what we expose our mind to. Therefore, in the Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna says, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna Pramathe balavadranam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sadushkaram. See the adjectives which Arjuna is giving. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. Restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. By nature, the mind is like this. Nature of mind. O Krishna, to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So Arjuna was known for his mind control, focus, concentration, and sense control. But even Arjuna is telling it is very difficult to control. Even great personalities like Arjuna feel that their mind can drive them crazy. So therefore, I would again like to reiterate and ask you the same question again. How many of you feel that mind control is not an option? In fact, how many of you feel that there is an urgent need to control the mind? Some of you couldn't raise your hand last time, so I took some extra time to convince you. How many of you now feel that mind control is an absolute necessity? It's an urgent requirement. If you do not control, then you'll be finished. If all of you are convinced now, then as a teacher, I can proceed. If you're not convinced, then again, I will reiterate the same topic. What to do? I have to do that. So please make sure you raise your hands. Okay, very good. A better population has raised their hand. So now at least more of you are convinced that mind control is an urgent requirement. Now that all of you are convinced that yes, mind control is an absolute requirement without any exception, I will go on to the next part of the discussion, that what does this mind want? What does this stupid mind want? Before I start this discussion, I would like to have a public opinion. The chat box is open. What do you think the mind wants? Can all of you just put it in the chat box? What do you think the mind wants? I'm just lowering everybody's hand, and after that, I'll have a look at the chat box. Very good. I'm getting some answers. What are the answers? What does the mind want? Pleasure and comfort. Don't know, it keeps changing. Peace of mind. really the mind wants peace? If it really wanted peace, why was it doing everything to make it unpeaceful? Okay, Sampath Kumar is telling happiness, peace of mind. Aarti Venkatesh says happiness and peace. Shravani Mataji, very recently she has taken a Bhagavatam set. I congratulate her and I wish her all the blessings from Srila Prabhupada so that she can read it very nicely. She's saying that the mind needs materialistic pleasure. Okay. Premnath says mind wants everything. Anything which the mind can conceive, it wants it. Yeah, that can be some degree of madness. Peace, 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 engagement. Indrajit Dey says the mind wants engagement. Sevak Das says achieve eternal happiness and peace. Gargi Mataji says material pleasures under the pressure of Maya. Preeti Agarwal says always changing. Stimulation, pleasure, everything that is pleasant, everything. Ganga Shakti Mataji is telling the mind wants excitement. Deepak Sharma says the mind wants the next and the new distraction. What? Okay, Sumit Raj is very expertly and very tactfully saying that whatever the mind has been exposed to and conditioned to, the mind wants that. Very good. I must say I'm getting very, very nice answers today. Almost all of you are right. But let's see what does the presentation say. So basically, in simple words, all of whatever you people told, and that is everything is correct. But to put it in simple words, the mind wants happiness. The mind wants to be happy. But the problem is that the mind doesn't know what is the happiness or what is the definition of this happiness. So if the mind wants happiness, then why is it driving us crazy? The answer is very simple. It doesn't know what is happiness and what will make it happy. For example, you see someone with some money, and externally that person appears to be very smiling, very comfortable. So the mind will give you an idea that, okay, you also work very hard like a donkey and try to get some money. And simply by having money, you'll become happy. So this is the nature of the mind. It tries to look, it doesn't have the proper definition of happiness. The proper definition of happiness can only come from intelligence. I repeat, the proper definition of happiness can only come via the Bhagavad-Gita. Yehi samparsh jab hoga dukkha yonaya evate adya antavantatu kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. The Bhagavad-Gita says, Yehi samparsh jab hoga. As soon as the senses contact the sense object, by agitated by the mode of passion, yehi samparsh jab hoga dukkha yonaya evate. So immediately there is a pregnancy of misery. The moment I have tried to enjoy something at the sensory platform, deluded by the modes of passion and ignorance, immediately the karmic reaction starts and some dukkha, misery is in store for me in future. That's why I said dukkha yonaya. There is a pregnancy of misery. When the pregnancy happens, and after some time, the pregnancy gets delivered also. So the karmic reaction begins. So the Bhagavad Gita says, Yehi samparsa jab hoga dukkha yonaya evate adya antavantatu kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha means an intelligent person. An intelligent person understands that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence. I am the spirit soul and I am eternal. If I am eternal, then my happiness also should be eternal. But here in the material world, in the sensory realm, I am finding happiness which has a beginning and an end. Adya antavanta. Every happiness has a beginning and an end. So the wise man is he who does not run behind this temporary happiness which has a beginning or an end. Adya antavant tu kaunte na teshu ramate buddha. Intelligent man means who does not run behind this so-called happiness, which will ultimately not make you happy. Why? Because it has a beginning and an end. I am eternal, Krishna is eternal. So therefore the happiness which I am seeking should be eternal. If the happiness which I have is fluctuating, 2 days happiness, 3 days happiness, 1 week happiness, then it will not going to make me happy. So therefore the idea which the mind has for happiness is a very, very incorrect idea, not coming from the scriptures, basically based on concoctions and imaginations. I saw someone with money, he looked very happy. So if I also get money, I'll be happy. So basically, mind forces one, if the intelligence is not strong, if the intelligence has not taken shelter of the Bhagavad-Gita and the Bhagavatam and the spiritual masters, then the mind will make one go crazy. It will force one to find wrong things at the wrong place. So now my question to all of you is that, does your mind also give you ideas of becoming happy, but when you pursue it, you end up only with frustration? If your answer is yes, please type yes in the chat box. If your answer is no, type no in the chat box. Does your mind also give you ideas of becoming happy, but when you actually walk on that proposal, walk on that path proposed by the mind, you end up only being frustrated? If you are also facing this difficulty, please type yes in the chat box. Yes, almost everybody is saying yes. Yes, 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 yes. Haribol. Okay, thank you for your inputs. That is the nature of the mind. It is simply just driving us crazy because it doesn't know what happiness is and where to get the happiness from. So what is the mind's idea of happiness? It's a very perverted idea. The material mind, coupled with the false ego, when it exploits someone, it feels very happy. When it accumulates through few things, it feels very happy. When it gets the association of the opposite gender, it feels very happy. And when we supply the needs of the senses, the mind becomes happy. So you see, this is a perfect ingredient for hell, or a perfect ingredient for what to speak of hell in next life. Even in this life, this is a perfect ingredient of total devastation and, if possible, suicide. Complete mind becomes happy when we exploit someone. Mind becomes happy when we accumulate something. And when I say mind, I mean the material mind. Mind becomes happy when we supply the needs of the senses as much as we want, as if it is a bottomless pit. And mind becomes extremely happy when we get the association of the opposite gender. So this is the idea of mind's happiness. And just imagine those people who do not have a spiritual education or a spiritual outlook, how much cheated they are in their own life, chasing the mind's desires. There is a very nice verse in the Bhagavad-Gita. I'm just pulling it up. Apuryamanam achalam pratishtham. It is in the chapter 2, shloka number 70. Let me quickly share it with you. Just see what does this verse says. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapaha pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantim apanoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So just like the ocean is there, many rivers are entering the ocean, but the ocean doesn't get agitated and does not cross its boundaries. the ocean remains still. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham. Similarly, a sane man is he. See, a mind is materially conditioned from many, many lifetimes. And even if we simply sit down like this, so many stupid ideas and stupid desires will come. So we have to be like the ocean. So many rivers are entering the ocean does not get agitated. Similarly, so many material desires will be passing through the courtyard of my heart. I have to ignore it. What happens if I don't ignore it? Sa shantim apanoti na kamakami. A person who runs to satisfy each and every desire which is coming in his mind, they will never achieve peace. Sa shantim apanoti na kamakami. Such a person is called kamakami. One who wants to satisfy all the desires they have, they will never get peace. So just imagine, the Bhagavad-Gita says that you have not supposed to satisfy the desires of the mind. And now we just agreed that the mind's idea of happiness is so concocted and so polluted. Exploitation, accumulation, supplication, supplying the needs of the senses, association with the opposite gender. These are horrible ideas for happiness. If a person does not have the understanding from the Bhagavad-Gita, doesn't know that the mind should be controlled, that the mind should be chastised, doesn't know that the mind's the materialistic desires coming from the mind should be ignored, how much troubled will they be through the rest of their life? They'll become kamakami. It's like a deer chasing a mirage in the desert, thinking that there is water, but ultimately when he will reach there, he'll find more heat and more misery, and ultimately the deer will die. Similarly, a person who doesn't know the Krishna conscious method of controlling the mind, they will simply die satisfying their desires, only further entangling themselves in the cycle of birth, disease, old age, and death in lower species of life, by the way. So this is a very, very serious problem. People do not understand this. They take it very lightly, but it is not to be taken lightly. My sharing has got distorted. I'll just set it up again. So that's the mind's idea of happiness. And because the happiness idea of the mind is fully polluted, so the goals which the mind sets is also wrong. Mind frames the goals based on what it is exposed to, primarily what it hears. Make money, become that, achieve that, buy this product. Why? Because people are telling it and the advertisements are telling it. That is why I again and again emphasize that spiritual life starts from Shravanam. Spiritual life starts from hearing. If you hear from the wrong source, your mind will get exposed to the wrong things. It will make the wrong goals and life will be topsy-turvy. But if you hear from the right source, the same mind will get exposed to the transcendental things and then will become your friend and will cooperate and will help you in your journey back home, back to Godhead. So therefore, spiritual life begins with Shravanam, hearing. So therefore, we insist that all of you should regularly come to these sessions. Hear as many lectures as possible, especially Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Now, I have another question for all of you. This is a hand-raising question. How many of you think, now that we have understood that the wrongly set goals because of mind's exposure to the wrong things, primarily the hearing, how many of you feel that if you would have heard from the right source, such as the Bhagavad-Gita, then your life wouldn't have been as miserable as it is today? I repeat, how many of you feel that if you would have primarily from the beginning of your life been hearing to this Bhagavad-Gita, as a source of hearing from, then your life today wouldn't have been so miserable, because we have heard from all the kinds of wrong sources. Do this, do that, get this, get that. People are saying, ads are telling, newspaper is telling. Very few people are raising their hands. Why? Are you fully sure that what you have heard and accumulated till now is absolutely correct, and that you're not miserable, you're in ecstasy, bliss? There is something also called as a fool's paradise. A person in a fool's paradise also thinks that they are perfectly happy. So nothing can be done for them. Okay, some people are saying, I don't think that life is miserable till now. Okay, your till now is very, very... See, Krishna has certified this material world as a dukkhalayam. Anybody who is there as a human being, or even not as a human being in this material world, should understand and accept that this world is a dukkhalayam. One will get only miseries. Our problem, my dear friend, is that we have become so used to these miseries that we feel it is all right. Absolutely all right. I'll give you a very graphic example to prove this to you. We all like eating clean things. In the concentration camps in the World War II, hundreds and hundreds of people were stuffed into one concentration chamber. They were not given anything to eat. After some time, they started eating the stool which they were passing, because they would have died otherwise. Initially, everybody felt disgusted. But after a few days, everybody was okay. And they were not feeling that they are miserable. That is called conditioning. I gave the example of someone eating until they get 5-6 burps. That is misery. But they are thinking it is not misery. The beer and barbecue culture, that is misery. But they think that the beer will change the world. So similarly, this world has been certified as dukkhalayam by Krishna. But because we have got so much used to this sufferings because of the body and mind, suffering because of the natural calamities, suffering because of the other living entities around me, we have gotten so used to this that we feel this is normal and it is okay. Our idea of happiness is the reduction in misery. When our misery reduces a little bit, we say it is happiness, party time. But we have no idea what is happiness. True Satchidanand happiness can be experienced only in the association of Krishna and the Krishna conscious practice and culture. Anybody who is not in the association of God, Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke, just like the finger is happy as long as it is with the hand. I am a part and parcel of Krishna. As long as I am with Krishna, I am happy. If I am not rekindling my connection with Krishna, I am fully miserable. But Maya means it will make you think. Even if somebody becomes a pig, what does the pig eat? The pig eats stool. The pig is a stool eater. But the pig thinks, oh, it is very happy. It is very nice, very tasty. A human being, when he sees the pig, he feels disgusted. Just look at this pig. But the pig feels it is absolutely, that this is Maya. We are in complete misery, but we feel that everything is all right. Somebody asks us, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Some people say, absolutely fantastic. But little bit, if you scratch the surface, they'll break down into tears. I met a lady. I started talking to her. She was talking very nicely. And she was telling some things about her life. She started like, my life is fantastic. 2021 is going to be the best year of my life. This, that. And after a few minutes of conversation, she started crying. She said that my husband gives me only ₹500,000 as pocket money per month. And this is the misery of my life. She said that my husband gives me only 5 lakh rupees per month as my pocket money, and this is the misery of. She started that 2021 is going to be the best year of my life, and then she says my husband gives me only 5 lakh rupees per month. I'm very sad in my life, and she was literally in tears. That's what I said, that they are miserable. They don't even realize the degree of their misery. Can you imagine a person having 5 lakh rupees, ₹500,000 per month, still being miserable, and they are thinking that they are fine? This is Maya. Okay, so now I'll go forward into the discussion. Indranil Mitra is repenting that he should have studied the Bhagavad-Gita and understood, then life wouldn't have been miserable. Yes, that's correct actually. Prahlad Maharaj says right from the age of 5, we should read the Bhagavad-Gita and the Bhagavad. In fact, I have a challenge, especially to those parents who want to homeschool their children. Just give your children a copy of the Srimad Bhagavatam and just make them read that only, nothing else. No history, no geography, no nothing, no other subject. Just let them read that for 2-3 years, and then you'll see how much will their development will be. Simply by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, one becomes perfectly capable to do anything and everything, talk, comment, analyze, and discuss on any subject matter of the universe, and also in inter-universes. That is the knowledge of Bhagavatam. So these are some sacred points which I'm sharing with all of you. Okay, now here comes the shloka which I was quoting. Yehi sambarshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate adya antvanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in sources of misery which are due to the contact of the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so a wise man does not delight in them. So intelligence is required to guide the mind. To get the intelligence, we have to consult the scriptures. Intelligence works on the sense of discrimination, what is right and what is wrong, and mind simply works on likes and dislikes. So if somebody asks you what is the difference between mind and intelligence, you can say this. Mind works on likes and dislikes. Intelligence works on good and discrimination. What is good for you, what is bad for you. So somehow the mind has become the master. Indriyani paranyahur indribhyah param manaha manasastu parabuddhir yo buddheh paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Now this is the hierarchy. Which is higher, which is superior? Is the intelligence superior or is the mind superior? That discussion is happening here. So the working senses are superior to the dull matter. The mind is higher than the senses. The intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, that is the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Bhagavad-Gita 3.42. So this is this is called as the functional document of the body. Prabhupada explains this with the help of a chariot. You see, I will take this laser pointer and I'll show. So here are the senses. These are the knowledge acquiring senses called as the Gyan Indriyas. So the 5 horses are drawn in this picture as wild horses. You see, all of them are wild. All of them have different colors, different natures, and all of them running in different directions also. That is our senses. The reins, the ropes attached to all these horses That is the mind. Who is holding these reins? The chariot driver is the intelligence. The person sitting behind is the soul, and the chariot in itself, this whole setup, is the human body. So the functional body of the document says, the individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and the intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or the sufferer in association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by the great thinkers. So if the intelligence is strong, then it will very nicely control the ropes, that is the mind. And when the mind is controlled, the senses, that is the horses, will also be under control. But if the intelligence is weak, then the mind will be very agitated. And when the mind is agitated, the senses will take over. And this person sitting in the chariot will either die out of an accident or reach the wrong destination. So therefore, from the Bhagavad-Gita comes the intelligence. This intelligence has to control the mind. The mind has to control the senses. The order must be like this. If the mind starts dictating the intelligence, that is called material life. But when the spiritual intelligence starts controlling the material mind, that is called spiritual life. So with this, we come to an end to today's discussion. But before I go to the practical tip of the day, I'll just take out 1 minute and see if there are any questions, comments, confusions, disagreements, reflections. You can please raise your hand and ask it now. Any questions, comments? Yes, please. Any questions, comments, confusions, disagreements? Okay. We'll move on further. So the practical tip of the day is something which you have already figured out. Hear from the right source. Spiritual life begins with Shravanam. Hear the Bhagavad-Gita lectures of Srila Prabhupada. We are posting in the Gita course groups 1 7-minute lecture only. We have found we really spend time finding out 7-minute lectures, 8-minute lectures. In that 7 or 8 minutes, one independent topic has been discussed. So we are sharing it. We just hope that the devotees are listening to it. If possible, making some notes. Read the Bhagavad-Gita. Reading the Bhagavad-Gita means hearing from Krishna. And all this will be useless if you do not chant the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I have already explained in the previous sessions why, if a person who doesn't chant Hare Krishna and simply reads the Bhagavad-Gita, it will be not a fruitful endeavor. That person may become a scholar, but will not achieve Krishna ever. Why? Because Krishna only says in the Bhagavad-Gita, Sa evayam maya tedya yoga proktaha puratanaha bhakto si me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. Until one becomes a bhakta, a devotee of Krishna, and is having a non-envious, friendly disposition with Krishna. Bhakto si me sakha cheti. Until we become a devotee of Krishna, until we become a non-envious, friendly disposed servant of Krishna, rahasyam hi etaduttamam. The whole Bhagavad-Gita, even if I read it 500 times, it will remain a rahasya, a top class secret for me. It means basically I'll never be able to understand it. So therefore, I'm saying again and again and again. If you are attending these classes, feeling very happy to attend these classes, but if you're not chanting Hare Krishna, you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. Please chant Hare Krishna if you really want any results of this Bhagavad-Gita course. Because Krishna has told very clearly, Bhaktya Mama Vijanati, only my devotee can understand me. And the goal of this Gita course is to understand Krishna. Without becoming a devotee of Krishna, without accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how will you understand the Bhagavad-Gita? Arjuna understood it in that way. He says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamam, Pavitram, Paramam, Bhavan, Purusham, Shashwatam, Divyam, Adi Devam, Ajambhuvam. Arjuna is declaring that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's telling, only I am not telling this. Narada Deva, Narada Devala, Asita, Vyasa, all these great personalities are telling. People may say Arjuna is the friend of Krishna, so he's just, saying something very friendly. But Arjuna says, Asito Devalo Narada. All people are saying this. So we have to learn the Bhagavad Gita the way Arjuna understood it. And Arjuna understood it by understanding Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by becoming a devotee of Krishna, and by being non-envious of Krishna. So therefore, I recommend and I request and I beg that everybody should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then only one will be able to understand what Prabhupada is saying. Then only one will be able to understand what the Bhagavad Gita says. And of course, one has to follow the regulative principles. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. In the previous session, I've already explained this. That these four activities are considered sinful in all the religions. Meat eating includes meat, fish, and eggs. Gambling includes betting, gambling, being very addicted to day trading and things like that. Illicit sex means sex outside marriage or sex before marriage, etc. Excessive sex in married life also. That is also illicit sex. And no intoxication means one should not be addicted to drinking various kinds of liquor, beverages, beer, and all those things. How am I saying this? Because I have heard it from the right source. I was talking about that beer and barbecue culture place. Nobody told them that intoxication is bad for you. They are destroying their life and their afterlife. The Shastra says where there is too much intoxication, people cannot do tapasya. Nobody can do any austerity there. And without austerity, what is the value of human life? There is no value of human life without tapasya. Human life is meant for austerity and tapasya. We have already done sense gratifications for so many lives in so many species. Human life is meant for tapasya. But if all the time, if I am drinking, then what kind of austerity I'll do? So therefore, follow the four regulative principles. Let not the ever demanding and the ever dissatisfied mind ruin you. Engage your mind in the service of Krishna and the devotees of Krishna and become peaceful. So these are the practical tips of the day. I would like to reiterate, which I say in every session, Krite dhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makhehi dvapare paricharyayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. Whatever result was obtained in Satyuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th Canto, 3rd Chapter, Shloka number 52. From Kali Santaran Upanishad. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nama Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. These 16 names, composed of the 32 syllables, are the only means to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. What are the evil effects of Kali Yuga? Meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. So these 16 names composed of 32 syllables are the only means to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. In all the Vedas, it is seen that to cross the ocean of nescience, there is no alternative to chanting of the holy name. This is from the Kali Santaran Upanishad. So therefore, I am repeatedly saying, until we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, even the reading of Bhagavad-Gita will not be of much value. So I would like to give you a small homework before I go. This is the verse number 6.6. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartitatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. I'll request all the devotees to learn this verse. Learn it in such a way that if somebody asks you what is the meaning of anatmanas, then you should be able to answer. So you learn the verse, you learn the word-to-word meaning, and you learn the translation also. That's the homework for today. Any questions or comments now? Questions, comments, reflections? So one question which devotees may be thinking, that we discussed so much about the mind. Prabhuji did not tell us only how to control the mind. We understood that controlling the mind is a necessity. We understood the nature of the mind. We understood how it gets exposed to things. We understood it has wrong ideas of happiness. We understood that the tip of the day is to hear from the right source and have the right goals. But how to control the mind? So tips to control the mind, along with the techniques of sense control, because mind control and sense control are very closely related. So tips to control the mind and the agencies of sense control will be discussed in the part 2. Of course, the regulated lifestyle will also be discussed in the part 2 of this session. That's how I've divided this. So please be available in the next session also. Now, can we have some reflections, please? Reflections means something which you like, which you agree with or relate to with, can be a reflection. Something you heard, you would like to add something to it based on what you have read or heard. Some point which you like to take away home and chew upon it, meditate upon it, is a reflection. So any reflections, please? And I really want to have some personal conversation with someone. I'm tired of seeing the chat box. Okay, one question has come from Sevak Das. Nice name. You're a Sevak also and you're a Das also. Servant also and double servant basically. Servant. Okay, Prabhuji, why a soul has to be a watcher? What is the ultimate aim of watching? What is the end aim of the soul and what it has? I really did not understood the question. Sevak Das, are you there? Can you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Now, Prabhuji, as you showed the chariot you showed, in that chariot is basically watching everything. So why should it watch? And
What should
the
it
second
do?
thing is
Let's take it step by step. Your question is why the soul should be an observer. Why then, if it is not an observer, then what is the expectation? Like, what should it do? Soul's nature.
Isn't Prabhuji, for example, if the soul itself is not contaminated and is contaminated by the body, which is having mind, ego, and intelligence, if it is not itself contaminated, then why does it need to get involved?
It is not involved, no? The soul is always pure. See, for example, when you wear a glass, red colored glass, then everything which you see is red. The soul, when it wrongly identifies itself with the mind, body, or the intelligence, it starts to think that it is suffering. Just like in a dream, you are dreaming in the night that you are riding a horse. And then you are dreaming that the horse has fallen down very badly. And then you are dreaming that you also have fallen down along with the horse. And then you have got hurt. And you are actually feeling the hurt and feeling the pain in the dream. But when you wake up, you realize, oh, all this was an illusion. You have got nothing to do with that horse. You have got nothing to do with that dream. Simply because one misidentified themselves with the dream-like state, so they were suffering. So actually the soul is pure, uncontaminated. Just an observer, because the nature of the soul is spiritual and the nature of the material body, mind, intelligence and false ego is material. 180 degrees opposite. It has got nothing to do with the body. But because it misidentifies with the body, so therefore it starts suffering. I'll give you an example. I heard this in the lecture of my spiritual master. He was sharing that he was having 103 degrees fever. Now all of us know that when somebody is having 103 degrees fever, the body will be in a miserable state of existence. One cannot begin to describe how much pain will be there in the body. If I am understanding that I am the body, of course. But he was sharing that in that state, he started hearing to Prabhupada's lectures. And he was telling that my body was hot. It was 103 degrees fever. But when I was hearing this concept of body and soul, when I was hearing the transcendental voice of Srila Prabhupada, I was feeling blissful. So here is an experience. The soul, when it identifies with the body at 103 degrees centigrade fever, 103 degrees Fahrenheit fever, it will suffer miserably. But when the soul understands that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, and no matter how much inconvenience the body is in, the soul will not be affected and will always think of Krishna and the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna. This is exactly what happens at the death of a devotee. The body is going through the pain of 60,000 scorpions biting at the same time. A materialist who is not a devotee of Krishna, we cannot begin to describe their suffering. But a devotee of Krishna, even in that condition, will be blissfully thinking of the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna, so much so that he will not feel the pain only. So this is called as Krishna consciousness. When you are not Krishna conscious, you become body conscious. And when you are Krishna conscious, then you are not body conscious. So my dear friend, Sevak Das, have all your questions been answered? I'll again ask you to unmute yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji, to some extent, but I think I need to think myself over it for some time.
Correct. You please think about it. You message me on WhatsApp. We can have an audio message conversation and we can discuss further. I just tried my best to answer you. Okay. Preeti Agarwal. Prabhuji, if we try to control the mind, it's always controlled or till that time only. You mean to say that the control goes away after some time? Yeah, that's natural. So therefore, controlling the mind is a moment-to-moment process. Controlling the mind is not some that you just control it once and for the rest of the life it is controlled. No. It's a moment-to-moment process. Similarly, surrender to Krishna is also a moment-to-moment process. The best way to control the mind is to engage the mind in the services of Krishna and always be busy in executing the instructions of the spiritual master. That is the best way to control the mind. But when the mind is not engaged in fulfilling the desires of the spiritual master and not engaged in the service of Krishna, then it will become a devil's workshop, and then one will not be able to control it. Actually speaking, no one can control their mind. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, amongst the senses, I am the mind. That means only by the mercy of Krishna, the mind can be controlled. I repeat, only by the mercy of Krishna can the mind be controlled. So we have to engage our senses in the service of Krishna, in the service of Guru, and pray to Krishna that you please control my mind. Rishikesha Sevanam. We'll use our senses in the service of Rishikesh and just hope and pray that Rishikesh will control our mind. That is the only way. According to the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the other previous acharyas, this is the only way. Siddharth Chaturvedi, I have experienced that by chanting the mantra, one avoids negative thoughts. You mean the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I suppose. One avoids the negative thoughts, plus you get a control on your mind. An aura is created which makes me feel very satisfied and gives me inner strength. Very good. Mohan Kumar, he's sharing his reflection. We should hear Shastra from the right source, from bona fide parampara, otherwise we are cheated. Yes, very nice. Ganga Shakti Mataji, if the soul is so pure and spiritual, why did we end up in the bodily chariot? Yeah. Desires, Mataji. Ganga Shakti Mataji, it's the desires. Krishna bhuliya jeev bhog vancha kore nikatastha maya jhaputiya dhore. This is vancha is a problem. Vancha means desires. So the soul desired, at some point of time, the soul became envious of Krishna, started thinking that why only Krishna should get all the enjoyment? Why shouldn't I also enjoy? What is the difference between me and Krishna? When a spark of fire is there in the fire, in terms of quality, there is no difference between the spark and the fire. Of course, there is a huge difference in terms of quantity. The fire can independently exist, but the spark, as soon as it goes out of fire, it will extinguish. So, we are godlike. In our original constitutional positions, we are all godlike. And then, due to bad association or due to some offense, an unfortunate spirit soul starts thinking that why should Krishna only enjoy? Why can't I enjoy like him? And why should I cooperate in the enjoyment of Krishna? And therefore one decides to forget Krishna. And when one forgets Krishna, what happens? When we remember Krishna, we want to serve Krishna. But when we forget Krishna, we want to serve our senses. We want to do sense gratification. So therefore the verse says, Krishna bhuliya jeev. After forgetting Krishna, Krishna bhuliya jeev bhog vancha kore. The spirit soul desires to do sense gratification. And then at that time, what happens? Nikatastha maya jhaputiya dhare. Maya is very waiting nearby. And as soon as the spirit soul desires to do sense gratification, it comes into the material world and Maya captures it. And then coming in the material world means having a material body. And especially a material body is like this chariot. So everything started with a desire. Or you can say everything started with an offense. We are all offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. We cannot, because of our offense right now, we are not able to comprehend the degree which Krishna loves us. We have left Krishna, we have forgotten Krishna, but Krishna has not forgotten us. He is there with us as the Paramatma. So many lifetimes we passed without remembering Krishna. Krishna waited for us when he will think of me, when she will think of me. He gave us birth in various species, in various places, in various holy lands. Sometimes he even made interferences in the laws of material nature or the laws of evolution, thinking that, okay, I'll give him birth in this devotee's house. I'll give him birth in the Govardhan. I'll give him birth in this holy place. Let me see if he can remember me. We forgot, but he never forgot us. He was constantly waiting for us. And because we have burnt the bridges and because we have desired to forget Krishna, to be away from Krishna, so Krishna is so merciful that he is facilitating that also. So he has created a situation where we will forget Krishna, and then we will end up in a chariot with mind, intelligence, senses, not to mention the false ego also. And then we'll be struggling like that. But the moment we decide, Srila Prabhupada says that what is the most necessary or the most important thing as far as going back home, back to Godhead is concerned? The answer is desire. We should strongly desire to again serve Krishna, to become a soul surrendered to Krishna, to become a soul surrendered to the devotees of Krishna. And then chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But before this, before every round, we have to chant the Panch Tattva mantra also. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura. In this way, we have to chant, and this chanting will Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It will purify our heart. And then when our heart becomes purified, we will realize that we are not this chariot. Essentially speaking, we are only the spirit soul. Chariot is very much necessary. If we do not have the chariot, we cannot stay in the material world and we cannot make any spiritual advancement. The chariot is also necessary to stay in the material world. Ultimately, we have all come here to do sense gratification. If the chariot is taken away, then how will we cultivate the habit of converting our sense gratification into the sense enjoyment of Krishna? Atmendra Priti Vancha Tari Balekam Krishnendriya Priti Iksha Dhare Premanam. When I desire to satisfy my senses, that is lust. But when I cultivate a desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna, that is love. So I need a body for that also. I hope this answers your question, Mataji. Rachna Praveen is asking, please tell me the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yes, the meaning of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is Hare means energy of Krishna. Krishna means the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ram means the source of all bliss. So, O energy of Krishna, O all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is the meaning of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We are asking for seva. Please engage me in your service. Deepak Sharma, pursuing science, medicine, academia, mathematics, engineering with complete dedication is a service to Krishna, or is it a self-gratification? If and only if we can use the results of all these science, medicine, academia, mathematics, engineering in the service of Krishna, then it is a service to Krishna. And if we are not able to do that, then it is self-gratification. Something for Deepak to think about. Deepak, my dear friend Deepak, while you were pursuing this science, medicine, academia, mathematics, engineering with complete dedication, if at that time somebody would have told you that no matter how much science, medicine, academia, mathematics, engineering you study with complete dedication, you're not going to get honey and you're not going to get money, would you have studied with complete dedication? If the answer is no, that means it was a sense gratification. Why do people study more and more and more and more and more so that they can earn more and more and more and more and more? And why they want to earn more and more and more and more and more? So that they can do more sense gratification, more sense gratification, more sense. That is the reality of life. Let's accept it. Come on, I throw an open challenge. If somebody would have told us that no matter how much we study all this science, medicine, academia, mathematics, engineering with complete dedication, we are not going to get honey and we are not going to get money. How many of us would have bothered studying like this? You tell me. Now that we have done all this, let's use the results of all this in the service of Krishna. That is the only way out. Aarti Venkatesh, who is Maya? Is her work only to lure us to misery? Maya is an energy of Krishna. She is a secretary of Krishna. Her job is to ensure that only those people who are serious and surrendered should have or should get the time of Krishna. So Maya's job is to test us, to ensure, to beat the pulp out of us, test us, train us, make us realize that everything in this material world is a waste of time. And I belong to Krishna and I'm only meant to serve Krishna. She'll keep beating us until we realize this. If we are fortunate, we will realize this. If we are not fortunate, then she'll keep beating us for time immemorial. And only when Maya is fully sure, after giving us different kinds of allurements, just like a secretary, when she is fully sure that the person who has come to meet the boss will not waste the time of the boss. Only when the Maya Devi is fully sure that yes, this person wants nothing except Krishna, she will let us go ahead. So don't hate Maya. She is a very nice devotee doing her job. Aruna Verma, this is the last question. Prabhuji, what is karma? Some say, I already have discussed the karma session. Prabhuji, what is karma? Some say what you are facing is because of your past life karma, and some say the situation is because of your present life karma. How to understand it for ourselves? You cannot understand it. Nobody can understand the karma. It's such a complex thing. Some karmic reactions, they take various lifetimes to fructify. Some karmic reactions, they immediately fructify. Some karmic reactions, they always remain in the seed stage, generating various sinful desires and so on and so forth. It's very difficult to say. In case of Dhritarashtra, he suffered the karmic reaction of killing 100 birds after 50 lifetimes. It took 50 lifetimes for that karmic reaction to fructify, where he had killed 100 birds and so his 100 sons died. And only Krishna can explain this, how the karma is working. Nobody else. It's such a complex thing that nobody can explain. However, there is one guarantee. Krishna has said, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Just abandon all varieties of religions and just surrender unto me. I shall give you freedom from all sinful reactions. Do not worry. We are all carrying millions and billions of sinful loads of sinful reaction from time immemorial. But if we just surrender to Krishna, if we just say, oh Krishna, I am yours, you are mine, and I will chant the Hare Krishna Mantra and I'll follow the 4 regulative principles, hear from Prabhupada and read his books, and henceforth I will try my best to live as a devotee. You please guide me, keep me in the association of devotees. I surrender. The moment you surrender, from that moment only all your sinful reactions are destroyed. So nobody can say which sinful reaction will fructify when, just like some seeds. Some seeds you sow in the soil, it will come out in this season only, and some seeds will come after years. So similarly, different karma have different reactions and different ways in which they become mature. But certainly, some result is going to be there. But it's very difficult. Nobody can say where or which karma is affecting now. So the safer option is simply surrender to Krishna and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and Krishna will take care. Okay? Any other questions or comments? Okay, in case if there are no questions and comments, final comments from my side only. Please try to come in good numbers for these sessions. I'm a little afraid devotees should not get carried away in the New Year season and other places. It's always a challenge to get back the students. Try to, 14th is the Gita Jayanti day. I'm hoping and I'm praying that I'll be able to do some one-time session, which will be specifically meant for the newcomers. In one session, we'll just give some glimpse of Bhagavad-Gita, although it's not possible to do, but we'll try our best. Some overview of Bhagavad-Gita. I'm planning 2 overviews of Bhagavad-Gita. I don't know. I'm just planning. I don't know when it will fructify. Depends on what are the other services I'm ordered to do. So one overview I'm planning. It's like a seminar, a seminar of 3 to 4 sessions, where in detail I will explain the flow of the Bhagavad-Gita, how it moves from one chapter to another chapter. Why Krishna said this, why Arjuna asked that. So we'll understand the flow of Bhagavad-Gita. That is one seminar. I don't know when I'll do it, mostly in January maybe. But on 14th, with the desire to have more Bhagavad-Gitas distributed, there is a desire to do a one-session Bhagavad-Gita course. Either I will do it or some other devotee will do it, but somebody will do it. So try, if at all it happens, try to bring more and more new people for this session. And in that way, they can get admitted to the Gita course also, and we will have a good attendance also. Apart from this, please try to engage in book distribution. We are all, myself and my students, almost on a daily basis, we are going out distributing as many books as possible. As a temple, ISKCON Whitefield has taken a small vrata of 10,000 big books, maha big books, that means 10,000 Bhagavad Gita size books, out of which I have taken the onus or the responsibility of distributing 2,500 maha big books. So we have still not met the target. Some of you are helping us by taking Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of you are helping us by taking various Bhagavad Gitas and Krishna books to distribute amongst your circles. Very grateful for that. Inviting more and more people to do so. Simply by getting a Bhagavad Gita and reading a Bhagavad Gita, even if one line they read, their life will change. Srila Prabhupada always says that these books are like time bombs. They will have an effect either now or later. So somehow or the other, please try to distribute the books. Our preaching can be measured by the number of books we distribute. Please try to help us in whichever way possible. Engage in book distribution and try to regularly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Try to bring more of your friends and near and dear ones to these sessions. And I'll keep you posted if there are any other events coming up. And hope to see the attendance increasing in the coming sessions also. I mean, it's not that it's very bad, but yeah, it can be more. So thank you very much. Let's chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Should we do one round of chanting? How many of you are in favor of one round of chanting with video on? At least some interaction should be there throughout. And by the way, there is one more announcement. Since the month of January, we will have a protocol of doing one physical session and 3 online sessions. One Mahamilan, where we'll find some venue. Worst case or the last possibility is our temple only. So that will be the protocol. 1 Mahamilan and 3 online. Of course, the Mahamilan will also be online, but the Mahamilan, we expect every devotee from the city of and nearby of Bangalore to come. Also, who are in and around Bangalore can also come. So we are planning that. Let's see how it goes. We want more and more physical sessions now. That is the idea, because online has become very boring. I feel very bad when I talk to a camera, and I'm fed up of it now. So I'll just get my chanting back, requesting all of you to turn on your videos for some time for my happiness, so that I feel like I'm a human being. And let's chant one round of Hare Krishna. And everybody should have a japmala and a bead bag. I see many people turn on their videos and they don't have a japmala. They are chanting on their fingers. They are simply chanting. That's not good. Almost, September, October, November, December, 4 months are over. And still we are not having our bead bags on. Ganga Shakti Mataji is telling she's very grateful for online sessions. Yeah, it's very difficult for her to come. But Mataji, we will organize some yatras, annual yatras, and we will request you to come for that yatra. We'll try to go to either to Mayapur or to Jagannath Puri, and we'll request you, and not just Mataji, others also who are in different parts of the world. There is a huge probability that people from foreign countries will come, but people from Bangalore only will not be able to join. That is my observation, especially when we do such yatras. Okay, let's turn on our videos and we'll chant one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Thank you very much and see you on the next Sunday. And please be in touch on the phone as much as possible. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.